This continues an interview with Fred L. Hart on April 21st, 2001 in Knoxville, Tennessee with Kurt Peeler and
Mark Bolton.
And you were saying you had problems driving through villages in terms of South Vietnamese civilians.
The civilians, the kids, mainly, they taught the kids to do it. Jump up on the side of the truck, try to steal stuff off of it. Anything. They would do it. I'd hauled some construction equipment and had these big long hoses, air hoses for the air compressor that run some of the equipment we had, run rock drills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I looked out the mirror and there goes a big long roll of hose that two little old kids stole. I don't know what they do with that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but you had to have it strapped and tied down or they would steal it.
How did that make you feel in terms of why America was fighting there then?
I got a very bad distaste for South Vietnamese people. I could tell right away they didn't care who won the war. All they wanted was a piece of the money, action, or whatever. I don't think they had any resolve to fight, and we were doing the fighting for us. You could buy M16s over there, $25-$30. Just been dropped one time. Vietnamese Army drop them. Kids pick them up and sell them. GI, you want an extra M16? Buy them. French-made weapons were over there by the thousands. World War II guns by the millions, I guess. Had been over there since World War II. Was no problem. Vietnamese sell you anything. Anything. I mean anything. Anything you wanted you could get. You want a young girl, not even at the age of puberty, they'd sell her to you. Not a very good class of people. I got to where I actually absolutely hated to look at it.
Did you ever have any contact with the South Vietnamese Army?
Very little. Some of their troops on the bridges, they guarded bridges all the time that we went across.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'd see them.
But your unit never was on any sort of joint operation or joint task?
Not with the Vietnamese, but now we were with Thailand troops. They were Thailand troops there, and we built their base camp
Mm-hmm.
for them before they got there. And they were a complete different animal. They were highly respected. They were feared by the Viet Cong because one, they didn't take any prisoners, and two, they didn't play by any rules. They were feared.
Any contact with South Korean or Australian?
Australian troops, a lot. They were good troops. Fed you very well. Had good equipment. They were good. They liked to fight all the time. If they wasn't fighting the Vietnamese, they were fighting each other. They were rowdy, but they were good guys. Enjoyed being around them. I mean, I wasn't a bar hopper or anything, but they were. They had their sergeants flying C-130s. You didn't have to be an officer to fly a C-130. They had flying sergeants. They put a kangaroo on everything. They had I don't know where they got them kangaroo stencils, but it didn't matter. If you were around them, you'd end up with a kangaroo stenciled on your truck. I just left them on mine. I thought it looked all right. They put a kangaroo on everything. And you knew it was Australian troops.
Now, I take it you went to a different. You mentioned being transferred out because of your promotion,
Right.
And this is you indicated earlier in the interview this is an entirely different experience or different unit.
Right.
Was it different in terms of operation? Your
Different in terms of operation. We mainly built airfields, cleared landing zones, built concrete gun pads. The modern United States Army at that time was still using a 175 millimeter gun that had been designed in World War I. And it was not a tracked gun, and it was not a gun that could be pulled behind a deuce and a half and set up. It was a gun that had to be set in a layer of concrete, and it stayed there long term. Now this was the modern United States Army. Now the gun did a lot of damage as an 8-inch shell. It was a big shell. I think it weighed around 150 to 170 pounds. But the gun was stationary, and it couldn't be moved. It took about 8 hours to set it up. It took about 8 hours to take it apart. This is some of the equipment we used. So not everything was modern over there.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you were used in both units you were in really larger facilities, larger bases.
We worked out of larger bases. The one I was in Vung Tau, we didn't go but on one operation out into the country. And all we did, I drove a lowboy out and picked up a construction equipment and brought it back. Went out in the middle of nowhere, and there was a 9th Infantry Division unit out there. Well, I worked closely with the 9th Division, both units, because the 9th Division stayed in the southern part of the country. And when I got to the 93rd, things changed drastically, very drastically. We were on convoys every other day, and it got to where we were staying out 2 and 3 weeks at a time. We went all over South Vietnam, and was mainly, instead of being used as a construction engineer outfit, as we hauled steel tarmac to build airfields with. We hauled rock to certain base camps. We went out in the boonies. We went out where things were happening. And we weren't a combat outfit. We were not. And we found out one night what combat was all about. But it was a big change. But at least it came gradually. My next door neighbor's son went from basic training to advanced infantry training, got on a plane, flew to Vietnam, dead 3 weeks later. Didn't have a damn chance. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Yeah. I get when you say you were convoying, it sounds like in some ways you became a transport unit.
We became a transport unit, but we were engineer. We were A company, engineer, 93rd Engineer Battalion. A company had about, how many dump trucks do we have? 25 dump trucks. And 4 or 5 low boys. I drove both. And we had an asphalt division that we laid asphalt. We had an asphalt spreader. We had asphalt equipment. We could build a road out there. We had materials to do it with. Build airfields. God, we built airfields. I never want to see another airfield. And I love planes. We built airfields and then tore them up so the enemy couldn't use them. We did that. And when the Tet Offensive started, things changed drastically again. I went from a construction engineer to a combat engineer. I learned how to clean the road landmines. I learned a lot in a very, very short time.
It sounds like you hadn't been trained to do mine.
I was not a combat person.
Yeah.
I was not.
And you hadn't gotten any training. I mean.
No. There was, yeah, I got the training. It was on the job training. It happened just like that.
What was your experience in the Tet Offensive?
We were out on a work day, and I would say that it was probably, I know it wasn't a Sunday because Sunday was the day we maintained our trucks, tried to repair trucks. So it was a work day, and we went out to a large pit called a laterite pit. We're hauling red Tennessee clay. It's exactly what it looked like. Exactly the red clay here in Tennessee is what the stuff looked like. We went out there, but there wasn't no front end loader there to load us. We standing around, what's going on? And all at once, we started receiving fire out of the tree line. And nobody had told us that a tent was started. And they sent us out. Well, they didn't know either. I mean, this was a communication breakdown. Some Viet Cong troops said, gee, there's 12 dump trucks. They'd make a nice bonfire. And they started firing at us. And we started firing at them. I always carried about 250 rounds of ammo for a SAR M16 rifle to give us. And I run out of ammunition, I guess, in 5 minutes. And everybody else did too. And we kept getting fire out of the tree lines, and it kept getting closer. And it started hitting the trucks. And we didn't leave because it was all around us. And I said, what do we do? I didn't have a bayonet. I was not a combat trooper. I was not. We weren't combat troopers. We just drove dump trucks. And here come one of the beautiful Hueys from the 9th. And they shot that tree line up. And we got out of there.
But if that hadn't come, that would have
That'd been it.
that would have been it. Was that your closest call? And
No. No, the Tet Offensive was education for me.
so after this incident, where you got out, you got into your trucks.
We got back to our base camp. Oh, base camp was all to hell. Those people went bananas. They had cooks on the fire lines. I mean, command post said we were going to be overrun that afternoon. There was a large Viet Cong regiment that was coming. And there wasn't enough aircraft in the area to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't care what anybody says about Vietnam War. I know you talk to people that went out there and hunted the enemy, and I didn't do that. But if it hadn't been for the aircraft, we'd been in dire straits. And there wasn't enough aircraft, and then we found out that we were expendable, that we were on our own.
So you were attacked. You did.
We were attacked. We were attacked.
How many were in base camp? How many? How big was this?
We didn't have all of our units there. Not all of our companies are there. I'd say between 500 to 600 people at the most. And we're not combat soldiers.
Yeah. So you don't have.
We had basic training. We had combat basic training. But
so you have no combat units organically with you.
No, none close.
Just
us. Just us. Now we had a 9th Infantry Division was at Bearcat, but they were having problems too. We were on our own.
And what kind of weaponry did you have at base camp?
We had M60 machine guns. We had M79 grenade launchers. We had a few mines, claymores. We had sorry M16 rifles. The rifle was a good rifle, but when they went to ball ammunition on it, and nobody knowed what the dampness in Vietnam would do with ammunition, it caused the guns to jam up. It was more of the ammunition than it was the rifle. The rifle was okay. I keep saying sorry M16, but it was the sorry people that went to ball ammunition. And we didn't have any problems with the M60 machine guns because they didn't jam up. They could shoot ball ammunition all day long. It didn't bother them, but the M16 was more finicky.
Did you have enough ammunition at base camp?
Yes.
So that wasn't...
That wasn't a problem. We had enough ammo. We didn't run out low on ammo. I run low on ammo, but you know, I drive a truck, and you know, you would think 250 rounds, that's about what I had with me, would be enough, and it didn't last 5 minutes. And I'm thinking I'm being sparingly using what I'm using, and I wasn't. But it gets gone very fast.
What, you mentioned cooks on the line.
Right.
What were you were waiting, and you know an enemy attack is coming. What were your commanders doing, and what were you doing to prepare? Do you remember?
Commanders, some were very good. They was going up and down the line, shouting encouragement to us. If you ever watched some of the Civil War things, they were doing that. Some of them were hiding in the damn bunkers and wouldn't come out.
When did the attack actually come?
At dusk and at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning was your favorite time. But at dusk, they hit us at dusk.
And did they break through the perimeter at all? So your fire was effective enough to...
We did it.
What about any did you have, how many casualties did you take?
We had a few wounded, a couple of guys shot themselves, which always happens. Lost 3 or 4 to friendly fire. Some had got too far out on the defensive berm and got shot up by our own helicopters. That always happened. But that was, I talked to guys, the infantry said that happened. That was normal.
Did you, because you said initially you were expecting no air support. You eventually did get some air.
Later that night.
Later that night. So the initial...
nothing with any substance to it like the Phantoms or 105s or A1Es. A1E was a godsend. 6 or 4 20-millimeter cannons could stay up there all day long, take hits, pilot fly by. They'd fly so damn low to the ground and fly right by the tree line where the Vietnamese were firing at them and throw them the finger and turn right around and fire back at them again. Nerves of steel. Yes, sir. Good guys. Stay up there for hours. Never run out of ammo. Turn the plane up on its side, short burst in that tree line. You wouldn't hear nothing out of there for an hour. That sucker just keep flying around in circles. Get a little fire out of the tree line, they'd call it in, bang, do it again.
In terms of your unit, really hadn't had casualties before.
No. No, we weren't a combat unit. That's the thing about it is we didn't have no combat. We didn't know how to. We learned.
Like, did you have corpsmen internally in the unit?
We had medics. They weren't corpsmen.
Yeah,
they weren't combat
medics.
They didn't know how to treat combat wounds except what they learned in
the beginning.
In the beginning, in the school they went to, San Antonio, I think that was a med school, but they learned very fast.
What about that first night? What about evacuation of wounded? How did that? Were you able to get that out?
They didn't evacuate nobody the next day. They couldn't.
So it was not until the next.
Didn't have. They couldn't fly medevacs in. They did the next day. The ones that made it through the night made it, but they couldn't get us. It was all so confusing that this wasn't supposed to have happened. See, the top brass made some bad mistakes. They underestimated the strength of Viet Cong, or the resolve, or the kind of weapons they used. They wasn't using any old bolt action rifles on us. They were all AK-47s or some kind of semi-automatic weapon. They were well equipped. Their sappers were well equipped. They all had little satchel charges with them. They sneaked through the wire. They were ready.
How long did that offensive go on?
All night long. All night long. More at certain times than sporadic. But when the daylight come, they found out the power of the Marine Corps, Navy, and the U.S. Air Force. Wiped that regiment out. Wasn't no more VC regiment. It was gone. And they never were an effective fighting force. I mean, you don't... It burns me up about... They talk about the Tet Offensive stuff. After the Tet Offensive, we didn't have any more problems with Viet Cong because there wasn't no Viet Cong to have problems with. They were all sacrificed. North Vietnamese were smart. Sacrificed the Viet Cong troops because they knew that when they finally took over the country, which they finally did in '75, that they were going to have to end up fighting the Viet Cong, because the North Vietnamese plans were much different from what the Viet Cong plans were. Viet Cong was going to turn the thing over to the people, and the North Vietnamese was going to make it into a Chinese communist. Exact thing to what the communists have got now. They were be completely government controlled, and they knew they were going to have to. So they sacrificed them. So when the North Vietnamese finally did come in, nobody could fight. They were all gone.
After this attack, what happened? You were able to evacuate the wounded out. How long did you stay at this base camp?
We were on alert there for, I would say, 2 solid weeks.
But you didn't have any. Did you have more attacks after that, or
sporadic?
Sporadic,
but not
not
like
a sustained.
Not like the big one.
And then what happened?
Slacked off real fast. Now, some of the cities they kept fighting in, like at Hue, and some parts of Saigon, but it slacked off on us. Well, when that regiment was gone, that was it. They wiped them out. And there wasn't no North Vietnamese in that area at that time.
Mm-hmm.
When the Viet Cong were gone, they were gone. There wasn't that many of them. Seemed like there was at one time, but after that happened, it was over with. Got real quiet.
Now, you mentioned you learned to do combat engineering on the job.
Right.
When did you have to do mine removal?
During that time.
During the 2-week...
during that time.
Which mines were you removing? Was it...
They were what they were. They were 250-pound command detonated mines that ordnance that fell off our aircraft. But they were very good. Stuff that didn't explode. They'd bury it in the ground, command detonate. Guy'd sit over there behind a bush or behind a rock or in the ground somewhere and wait till a big vehicle come by. Boom. He'd set it off, you know. They weren't pressure mines.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to hunt for them things. First thing you had to find was the wire. Then you had to get somebody, several of you be armed, trace the wire down, and this is where it got hairy, that wire might go, shucks, a quarter of a mile sometimes. I got in some, mostly around me was rubber tree plantations. You ever been in a maze?
Yeah.
It's what a rubber tree plantation is, because you get inside that thing and get turned around a few times, and everything, you can't tell which end's up. You don't know where you're at. You've lost direction. That's what you got into.
How would you get out?
You hoped somebody made some noise to where you could follow the noise, or you just try to use your sense of direction. I was in the woods a lot. I didn't hunt much, but I did hunt with my dad a lot, and it was hard to get me lost. But I've been, like Daniel Boone said, bewildered a few times. It's very easy to get turned around.
You didn't try to use a compass to? Couldn't. That wouldn't.
Didn't have one to use.
Oh, okay.
That was the farthest thing beyond our mind. I mean, you know, we're not out in the field, but we're out in the field now.
When did the convoying start? You said you did a lot of. Was that after these 2 weeks?
That was before and after, and it was more after than it was before. It was mainly hauling materials to infantry base camps, and we hauled ammunition, weapons, cooking utensils, anything to keep an army going, trash cans, anything, to the base camps and to the camps that were out in the field. We hauled tons of soft drinks, beer, rations, anything like that. Anything that them guys need, uniforms, just anything. Aircraft engines, anything.
So how long would you be on the road? I mean, how many hours would you drive? How many miles?
Daylight to dark.
Daylight to dark.
Then you may not cover 50 miles.
And you would cut because
The roads were so bad, the logistics were so bad, the bridges would be out one truck across the bridge at a time. You get a 100-truck convoy, look how long that would take. Screw-ups on where the place was. Getting to town, you're supposed to turn right. Well, some idiot turned the sign around as a joke to go left, be out in the middle of nowhere. And some of those roads just go out and no more road.
Just ends.
Just out. That happened all the time.
What was you? How many times do you have a close call on these convoying runs?
Here's one.
And how did that?
I dug that out of the side of my truck. That's the nose piece off of a rocket-propelled grenade. It exploded. I heard something. I didn't hear the explosion, but I heard something hit the truck. And I didn't think nothing of it. You know, we hear sounds all the time, and you're half asleep, and you're tired, you're wore out. You've been out 12 hours. You may have had guard duty that night, and you never get no sleep. I know combat veterans say never sleep. Well, we didn't sleep either. Just in snatches, you know. Got to where you fall asleep over the steering wheel if the truck stopped. I found that piece of shrapnel stuck on the side of the door of the truck. So glad it didn't come out higher, come through the window and hit me. So I've carried it. I've not carried it around. I've had it all these years. Just something to remind me of what it is. But that's what it is, and that's not American. That's Russian, I guess. The Russians had the best equipment. Give it to the Chinese.
What? I mean, you had a pretty hard experience being cut off and running out of ammunition. Did you ever have that type of attack again, where
Yes.
Another close call like that, or?
Yes. Very, very close call.
What point of the war?
During Tet Offensive. We were on the perimeter, guard duty. I couldn't stand to be in a bunker. God, I'm not claustrophobic or nothing. Can't breathe in there. You can't see it. Nothing. And I was outside the bunker, and I got proficient in using the M60 machine gun, and had the M60 on top of the bunker with me. And where our perimeter was, there was a small village down the street from us that had been abandoned. We wondered, everybody told us that, yes, all the Vietnamese go home. They go back to where they were born during Tet. The whole village was gone. So that should have given us a clue. There wasn't a soul in that village. There wasn't nobody. And it was dusk, and sitting there half asleep, tired, and was looking down the road, and all at once, these big doors on this entrance to the village exploded, and here they come, screaming. It was so noisy and dusty, couldn't see. Deafened by the noise. I don't know what they used. They must have used a 500-pound bomb to blow them doors apart. And nobody gave a word to fire. We just started firing. And it was over with a couple of minutes, maybe less. And I had 1,500 rounds of ammo, plus about 500 more. And the guy next to me was feeding the M60, and it was a hell of a weapon. And he told me, Hart, they always call me Hart, they would call me my last name. He said, it's over. I was still trying to fire, and I'd run out of ammo. He said, it's over. I had no recollection of what happened. I knew what happened. I said, I just hosed that entrance down, because they were coming over the walls. And I hosed it down. And I was still trying to fire the weapon, and had run out of ammunition. Now, I know you see these movies where they never run out of ammunition, but you run out of ammunition. You do run out of ammo. And there is a never-ending supply of ammunition in the movies, but there is not a never-ending supply of ammunition in the real world. And I'd run out. And it was so dusty, and so smoky, and so deafening. And I think that when that bomb went off, it hurt my ears. And I couldn't really hear very well, and couldn't for the next 2 or 3 days. And then it was over, and we didn't have any more that night. And we went and got some more ammo for that M60. And we stayed up all night expecting another attack. We never did get it. The next morning, it started getting daylight, and there was little black lumps out on the ground. And a guy from Oklahoma was next to me. He said, "What's them pigs doing out there?" I said, "Pigs?" He said, "Yeah, look at them. They look like pigs to me." And they did look like pigs. And when it got good in daylight, they weren't pigs. They were 13, 14-year-old kids. They were all naked. They'd all been covered in grease. They're all carrying a little satchel charge, little block C4. Some of them had TNT and a detonator. And their job was to slip in on us and find bunkers or whatever, find where the officers' quarters were, whatever damage they could do. They were greased up so they could slip through the wire if there were any wire fortifications. And we had some. So they were naked so their clothes wouldn't get caught on the wire. And they were all rolled up like little lumps. They did look like pigs. About the size of your satchel there. They all, I guess what you call a fetal position. All shot to hell. I have no qualms about what I've done. And it's just a war. I wouldn't be sitting here today. I just thank God they designed a weapon that didn't jam. That was made over here in South Carolina. And I remember the name of that weapon, Sacco Lowell. And the reason I remember it, because the knitting company I worked for, the old Standard Knitting Mill, used Sacco Lowell knitters. And this company in South Carolina also had a government contract and made M60 machine guns for the Army. What a weapon. Fired all day long, wouldn't jam it. You can melt the barrel off of it, but as far as jamming, it would not jam up. Saved a lot of good soldiers' lives. Saved my life. Because they were coming after us. But after that, didn't have any more. We were all guys that wasn't running into town anymore to be with a Vietnamese cutie. Didn't trust nobody. Just didn't. Then, let's see, that Tet Offensive, I think February. A couple of months later, I got to come home. I got out of it.
Did you ever get R&R while you were in Vietnam?
Didn't have the money. I saved my money. We had plans to be wife. We were going to have enough money for a down payment and buy us a car, on a down payment on a house, and buy us a car. And I saved enough money in the Army to do that with. I lived very frugally, very, very frugal. In Vietnam, I bet I didn't spend $25 a month. Sent the rest of it home.
Now, you were quite close to Saigon, so you never went there?
I've been in Saigon more times than I guess, I don't know, probably the top brass in Vietnam. I've been to me, E4 Fred, New Saigon, like about, because I drove through there all the time.
So you would just be constantly driving through?
Constantly driving through, because we went deep into south of the Delta. South stayed in Mekong Delta. Tan Am, Dong Tam, all them little towns. Xuan Loc, all kinds, all those little towns in South Vietnam went through. Saigon was the main route through, and there's no bypass. So you go right through the center of town. I saw the embassy building several times, where the presidential palace was. A lot of rich people live in Saigon. One street we went through, gosh, there's Jaguars, Corvettes sit in the houses. You could see them. Then when that Tet Offensive started, all that stuff got shot up. Went by one place one time. Here sat a beautiful Early 60 model Corvette. It had about 9 million bullet holes in it. We couldn't believe it. All of us young guys wanted a car like that, and everyone shot all to pieces.
What did you were leaving very frugally? Was there any gambling going?
Lots of gambling.
It sounds like you stayed out of the game.
I didn't have the money. It never appealed to me. My friend Raymond, God, what a street hustler. He told me, he said, Hart, can you send some money home for me and make it look like it's your money? I said, yeah. He said, you won't screw me now, will you? I said, I never have had it. He said, I won $1,500. Now, him being a E4, you don't get $1,500, and he got with $1,500. I said, yeah. I said, I think the most you could send home at any time was maybe $500. So Huey Brown got $500, I got $500, and Ray sent home $500, and we all sent it to our homes, and then they took the money order and sent it to Ray's home, and that's the way we got the money home. Now he wheeled and dealed with the sergeants and some officers gambling. This cat bought a 450 Honda motorcycle in Saigon and paid cash for it. I said, what are you going to do with it? Motorcycle, you can't ride it nowhere. Well, I can ride it when nobody's looking. He was a character. And he did. He bought a 450 Honda and paid cash for it. Expensive cameras, watches, Rolex watches. I've got a Rolex. I don't have it with me because it quit working. He gave me a Rolex watch.
Which those really weren't cheap. I mean,
they were expensive back then.
Yeah, no, I mean they're still expensive.
Yeah, $300 or $400 back then for one.
Yeah,
and he gave me one. But he come from a very wealthy family. He was a character.
Do you stay in touch with any of the people you knew in Vietnam?
I lost my book. It's in my house somewhere, and I do not know where I put that book. I had their phone numbers, and I've not. I never kept in touch with any of them. I should have. I wonder why. I got home. I wasn't one of these vets that had a lot of problems. I didn't. I got home and wanted to get married and forget about Vietnam. And really, that's what I did. I hadn't had a uniform on since 1968. And I fixed me up a uniform last summer for the celebration at Pigeon Forge. And that's the first uniform or Army clothes I had on since 1968.
How did you come home?
10 Airways. I've never heard of them. I didn't hear of them then. They were some kind of charter service the military used, 10 Airways. And we had nice stewardesses. They were all blonde and pretty, smelled good, treated us well. And nobody tried to get a free feel in. We were just in shock. We didn't know how to act. We didn't. I was as the first white woman, besides the women and the nurses that I had seen, and they were all in uniform. Now these stewardesses were in uniform too, but oh, did they look good.
Where you flew out of Saigon?
Left Han Sanu.
Mm-hmm. And what was your route? Did you stop anywhere?
Stopped in Japan.
And then
straight to Alaska. Stopped in Alaska for a few minutes, refueled, flew straight to Oakland.
And then from Oakland?
Oakland, I was out. And I caught a flight from San Francisco to Chicago to Lexington, Kentucky, and I was home.
So you were discharged at Oakland. You were no longer under...
I was no longer. I got out a month early because when I come back, We were lucky because the 45 days that we spent on the water counted as overseas time, and we were lucky. We were part of the first big buildup. We were the ones that went over by ship. The rest of us went over by airplane and come back by airplane.
In many ways, your experience of going over by ship is very unique for Vietnam veterans. Most
I loved it. I did. I know people make fun of the military. I guess I've still got that mindset, but I did. I enjoyed that. I should have been a sailor.
would you have liked to have come back by ship, or did you just
No,
want to get home?
I wanted to get home. I wanted to get home.
What did people say to you when you got to Alaska or Oakland, or did you wear your uniform all the way back to Knoxville?
I wore my uniform all the way back.
Did anyone say anything to you? Strangers?
Yes, they did. I flew first class American Airlines. I wanted to get home. I was not going to fly military standby. I spent the money. I had the money. I said, yes, I'm going home. And I bought me a first class ticket and got them on American Airlines and passed out. I'd been up 3 days solid.
You said it was a long flight. You flew first
I
class.
passed out.
First class in American Airlines.
I put some headphones on. It's playing some kind of Herb Albert music or something like that, and I was passed out. I woke up, and we were pretty close to Chicago. And I was sitting next to a guy, and I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Did I snore?" He said, "No, because I got a bad habit of snoring." And I said, "I keep people up." No, he said, "I don't know." So I was worried about offending everybody in there. So I think some drunken GI being in the plane. And we landed in Chicago, and my flight was right there. It's not like it is now. I didn't have to wait very long. Got on the plane. And it wasn't that big of a flight from Chicago to Kentucky. And I was sitting there, and the stewardess come up to me and she said, "Would you like anything to eat?" And I said, "Yes." She was older stewardess. She was head of the stewardess.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yes, I'll just take a sandwich." And she said, "You want a steak?" And I said, "Yeah, could I have one?" She said, "All my military men get steaks." She said, "You just back from Vietnam, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I am." She said, all my military flyers get steaks." You know, it was first class flight, but nobody else got a steak except me. She took care of me. I never got that woman's name. I appreciate that. She was an older woman. She wasn't like the other stewardesses would be in her 20s. She was pushing 40, I guess. She still had her looks and stuff. But she was the head woman, and I appreciate that.
So that was really about the only reaction you got to being in uniform when you from Oakland, Alaska, Oakland, and in Oakland you're on your own.
At that time in the airports, we were covered, and I never got sneered at, or I just wasn't paid any attention to. There were so many of us. I know some guys had some problems.
But you never experienced any?
Not here, no. East Tennessee was not a hotbed for the people that caused problems.
Where, and then you landed, where did you finally meet your family? How did you arrive?
I called Mom and Dad when I got to the airport, and they come pick me up. And I went home, and everything seemed strange. I didn't feel like I should be there. I didn't know what to do. I know the feeling. Some people had some bad problems come back from Vietnam. And I didn't have those problems, thank God. But I can understand why they did happen.
So you never had any problems going to sleep at night?
No, but I have problems waking up. Anything wakes me up now. No, I didn't have the problems a lot of the combat veterans had. I wasn't in it every day.
So you didn't have nightmares about?
Yes, I had nightmares. Dreamed I got killed in a truck several times. Even after I come back, dreamed that.
You also said when you came home and you took off your uniform, you never put it back on again?
No, I didn't.
And it sounds like you didn't really want to. Is it correct? You didn't talk about it. Is that, or did you talk about it? Who would you talk about it with?
I didn't have nobody to talk about it with. The friends I had when I come back, they were all gone. They went their separate ways, or we had nothing in common. It wasn't the same thing. When I come back on leave before I went to Vietnam, that was that 66? I guess it was the end of 66. I come back on leave. Maybe it's 67. No, it's 66. There were no drugs in Knoxville, Tennessee. Boys drank beer, and if they could get whiskey, they drank whiskey. And there was no drug problem in Knoxville, Tennessee. I went to Vietnam and come back, and this town was full of drugs. In 1 year time. Now, I run around with the in crowd. I run around with people that did everything. I knew them all, and nobody did marijuana in 1966. That was something some juvenile delinquent in New York City done. It wasn't here. 1 year later, you could buy a joint anywhere. You could walk up and down Cumberland Avenue, and there was a drug dealer on every corner. Now, this happened in a year's time. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, about what a culture shock it was to me. But it was a culture shock.
Is there anything else that had changed? I mean, I just interviewed a vet who said he left in '68 and got back in '69, and there was the miniskirt. And all of a sudden, he was just shocked to see the miniskirt. Was there anything else?
Well, yeah, and when I got back, the hippie dress was really coming into vogue. It was doing it a little bit before I had left. But when I come back, there was some weird people running around, and I don't want to run the university down, but they all seemed to congregate. Whether they went to university or not, they were hung around here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good school, a good place to get education. God knows I've spent enough money here. The past 6 years on two of my daughters, I know how expensive it is, but it is a good place to get education.
Mm-hmm.
You get a degree from University of Tennessee, everybody knows where University of Tennessee is. You get a degree from Murfreesboro, East Tennessee State, or Cookeville, you know what I'm talking about. They know this school. Well, they know this school.
No, it's a fine school, so I'm a little prejudiced too. So,
what did you do in those first few weeks back?
I bought me a car. My wife and I went house hunting. Got married yet. We got married in June. I saw her every minute. I went to look up some old friends and realized I didn't have any old friends. We lost out, and it's still to this day. I don't really have any friends. I've got acquaintances. We had a couple we saw that I knew from high school, and she did too. And days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, months turned into years. And, it just all slipped away. I don't know if that was just me or the experiences I went through. But I lost some respect for people that I knew, especially when I come back. Had one guy tell me, he said, well, you didn't do nothing but was on a vacation for 2 years. What a vacation.
I mean, he really
meant it.
He really meant it. He wasn't just kidding you.
No, he really meant it.
And this is before you even talked to him, or
Yeah.
did you tell him what? Did you tell him what had happened, or?
I couldn't. I've opened up to you guys, but I'm not a very outgoing person with people. I mean, I'm not antisocial like some of us have become. And there are some vets out there with some bad problems, very bad problems. I didn't know what to say. I really didn't. I had one tell me I was stupid for going.
And these have been your friends.
These have been my friends. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I mean, it wasn't a good time for a person to be in the military in the United States of America. And I have one thing to say to all the war protesters. They wondered why the war dragged on so long. I want them to go to that wall in Washington, D.C. and look at all them names that's on that wall. And I want them to say, yes, I helped put one of them's name up there because I protested the war and I give the enemy the resolve to keep going on. And that's what they done. And we caused a disruption here in the United States. And it filled the enemy, and that's what those people were. They weren't nothing but an enemy to keep going on. And they didn't care what the costs were, how many people they lost. They could decimate a regiment and it would come back. That's the way I feel about it. Now, I'll defend your right to protest the war. But what they done wasn't right. It was wrong. But let LBJ stew in hell. And I hope Robert McNamara's down there with him. For making such stupid decisions of learned men that got a lot of boys killed for absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
What did you think of Nixon in '68? You were suspicious of him in '60. How did you feel in '68 now, having come back from Vietnam?
I liked him better than I did Humphrey. I didn't care for Hubert Humphrey. I didn't vote for a long time. I think the first...
So you didn't vote in '68?
No. The first president I voted was Jimmy Carter. I liked Jimmy Carter. He was a Democrat, but I thought him being from the South, he would be a good deal, and he wasn't. I didn't vote for Ronald Reagan, but I didn't vote against him. I just didn't vote. When Mondale ran against him, I wouldn't vote for Mondale. I thought he was too left-wing, and when George Bush run and they put Dukakis up, I voted conservative ever since.
You've You already mentioned the Vietnam Wall. Have you been up there yourself?
No, but I've seen the one that's goes around the country several times. Every time it comes around, I go to it. I've got some people I know that's on it.
Were you ever asked to join a veterans organization?
No,
You never personally know.
not personally. Sent a letter, but never personally.
Was your dad ever in the Legion or the VFW or
No. No, I don't know why, because they got a strong cadre of World War II veterans. I don't know if it was our age, if it was the time it was. I don't know why. I never had no desire to join it. But a strange thing happened to me when I went to that celebration. I felt then that it was for something. I'm okay. Just go on.
I just you talked a lot about the war movies you had seen growing up as a kid, and you still like to watch them.
Yes, I do.
Were you able to watch more movies when you first got back, say in 68, 69, 70?
Yes.
What did you think of them then? I mean, did you look at them, particularly the older movies, did you look at them differently? Or did you just think they're movies? They don't really...
I thought they made a statement. I know I've had people tell me if you've been in combat, you don't ever want to see it again. Maybe for them, not for me. They made fun of the Green Beret, John Wayne. Last good war movie John Wayne made. I liked it. Sure, it was patriotic and it was made more like a World War II movie, but I liked it. And some of it was factual. Those movies Oliver Stone made were horrible. Some factual in them, but he twisted things around. I was not in an infantry outfit, but the portrayal that he gave, I don't believe it. I was around infantry people, and they were a little wacko. And things do happen. Things do get out of hand. But not what he portrayed. Not day to day to day, no. I may be chastised by other veterans for saying that the ones that went out there and hunted the enemy, their job was to kill the enemy. Mine was to give the infantry the resources to kill the enemy, or to build them places where they could do their job. That Apocalypse Now, horrible movie.
What's the best Vietnam movie in your eyes, that, both in general, but also any that touch particularly on your experiences?
A couple. Full Metal Jacket, Hamburger Hill, pretty factual.
Why Full Metal Jacket? What do you find that's accurate or speaks to your memories?
The scenes where they were getting fire from one Vietnamese woman, and they were burning up thousands of rounds of ammunition. The boot camp training things, and the guy went back over and killed himself, killed a DI. Some of that was factual.
Did you know a case like that?
I know the case where a guy went nuts.
At Benning or at Leonard?
At Benning.
At Benning.
He
Literally did.
He went nuts. He didn't kill anybody, but he would have if he could have. He went nuts. He was not. They drafted anybody. Okay, some people are not suited for the military. Should have never been put in the military. Not everybody can be made into a soldier. I survived. I didn't want to be a soldier, but I become one. And I was a survivor. I knew how, well, I guess there were so many times you heard, I knew how to play the game. I knew how to survive. I'm not talking about fighting. I mean just literally day-to-day survive, how to get by. I knew a boy from Oklahoma. Garrison was his last name. He should have never been drafted. He stayed in trouble from the time I knew him, and I knew him for a long time, for almost a year. He never got over Private E1. He just stayed in trouble all the time, mostly being absent without leave. He never really ever refused to do anything. He just get tired of work and he'd just walk off. They tried to assign him to a truck and me train him to drive. He said, I don't want no damn truck. He said, all I want's an M16 and a canteen of water and a backpack. That I can take care of that. I don't want no truck. He, just if he decided to go to the village to visit some cutie in the village, he'd go. And if he wanted to stay gone 2 days, he would. 3 days, he got gone. Things changed drastically during wartime. We were in a bunker one night, and we started receiving fire. And I was in a bunker. I couldn't see a damn thing. I couldn't get my weapon to operate right. And he was in there with me. He's using the M60 machine gun. He said, I can't see I'll not use the F word here. And I said, well, what are we going to do? I said, I can't get my gun to fire. I could not get the damn thing to fire. I don't know what I'd done. It was dark. And it just, like I said, I'm not a combat trooper. You've got to use these weapons every day. And I got the thing jammed up. I couldn't get it to fire. He gets up on top of the bunker and starts firing. The enemy gooks out there in the tree line. Start firing back at him. He says, hell, this is just like shooting fish in a barrel. I collared Garrison down. Wouldn't do it. Stood up. Dark. Stood up. Shot it out with the Vietnamese. Killed 23 of them. Never got wounded. Now I'm talking about the royalest dud that was ever in the Army was this guy. He said, this is just like shooting ducks in a barrel, so this is more fun than an arcade at home. He said, just watch the twinkle of the weapon, watch it go off. He put a few rounds over there, no more twinkle. Next morning they got up over there, he killed 23 of them guys.
Yeah, he was the biggest screw up.
He was the biggest screw up in the Army. He stopped an attack, is what he done. Well, the lieutenant in charge of us seen it happen. He kept hollering at him, get down, get down. I mean, we were receiving a pretty good volume. He never got a bullet, never took a round, never took a hit. The lieutenant said to me, he said, I'm going to recommend this guy for a medal. He said, will you sign the paper? I said, yes, I will. And he wrote out a big long paper, and I signed it. And two or three others signed it. He put him up for a Silver Star, and that guy won it. The biggest screw up in the Army. I mean, I'm talking about a guy who was not situated for the military. The general comes down from the Engineer Brigade to pin a medal on this guy. I had a big write-up in Stars and Stripes about it, and said, this guy's an E1. He's been in the service for 16 months. How could he be an E1? And they, had to tell him. He said, I'm not pinning a medal on an E1. Said he's an E4 now. And I told Garrison, I said, they're making you an E4. I said, you're going to be just what I am. I don't want to be no E4. I said, Garrison, you got to do this. I said, you can lose your stripes after this is over with. I said, now we're talking about a guy that wouldn't clean his uniform up or nothing. I mean, he was not suited to be, he was not. So we shined him up. We had
Literally.
We had him looking tall with him. We give him a good haircut and a shave, and he was squalling and didn't want to do this. I said, just go through the motions and take it like a man. I said, you are a man, aren't you? He said, yes, I am a man. And one of them said they'd buy him a case of liquor if he'd go through with it and everything, so he thought this was okay. And he got his medal. I never know what happened to him. He went AWOL again. They sent him to Camp LBJ. That's a stockade. And that's the last I ever heard of him. Silver Star. Won a Silver Star. Almost a Medal of Honor.
Well, I mean,
Was not afraid. He was not. He didn't pray. He thought he kept yelling at me. He said, it's just like shooting ducks in a barrel. Wait till one of them fires and fire back. Said you can hit him. And hell, he was a master with that gun. He could do anything with it. He could write his initials in the damn barn door with it if he wanted to. If there was a barn door over there to write him in, he was very good at what he did.
Sounds like he should have been in infantry.
He should have been, but I don't, he just
Yeah.
he was just not suited. He was half Indian boy. Didn't look like it. I've got his picture here. I'll show it to you here after a while. Looked like a half Indian boy. He just, but things do happen. People don't realize. People haven't got. I could not tell anybody except another combat veteran about things. People don't. They just don't understand. Just don't understand. I hope the guy come home. I do. I really do. Because anytime you spent the stockade was a bad time, and when you got out of the stockade, you had to start serving all over again. Your tour never. If you spent 3 months in the stockade, that didn't take 3 months off your time in Vietnam. You had to serve 3 months in the stockade, then you go start all over again. I'd say some of them, probably thought they never would get home.
Mm-hmm. How much drinking was there in your unit?
Every night.
Every night?
Every night. Every day. To get by with it during the day. Not only for enlisted men, but for NCOs too. Quite a bit of marijuana use. Lots of marijuana use. Hashies. Some kind of little white pills some of them they stole out of from the medics, or the medics sold it to them, or the medics gave them to them. They took bennies by the damn handful. I wouldn't do it. I didn't. I said I got to keep a clear head. I don't.
But a lot of people didn't.
A lot of people couldn't stand it. They did.
Anyone ever punished for drug use?
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to think here. Yes. Several got some bad time out of it. Mainly for selling, not using, selling.
Mm-hmm.
Selling drugs.
What about military discipline? Any ever?
Broke down.
It did break down.
It broke down.
In what ways did it?
Troops just refused to do orders.
How often would that? I mean, on a given week.
It broke down. Not every day. Maybe not once a week, but every once in a while you get something stupid to do. This ain't gonna do it.
So what would be the things people would say no? And did you ever have a case where you just said, "I'm not going to do it"?
Not personally, but as a unit, we started doing it. We'd clear a road of mines, and then they want us to do it again. Well, you might lose somebody doing that. Then we do it again. Then we do it again. Then we do it again. Then they didn't even use a road. Just stupid stuff. Guys tell us to clear a landing zone for a helicopter. Clear it. They never used it. Do it again. Never used it. Well, we had a sergeant called, told the lieutenant, said, make up your mind what you want us to do. Said, you're killing these guys out here. Put a gun pad in one area, and it wasn't even where they wanted it. Stupid decisions get people killed. People with no knowledge of engineering got people killed. We had a 90-day wonder out of the engineering school, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Second lieutenant, who happened to be a lawyer, and he shouldn't have been in the military either. I don't see how he got through law school. And he asked the first sergeant, and the reason I know about it because I knew the company clerk, and he asked the first sergeant, said, how much does a 1 pound stick of dynamite weigh? Now, what did I just say? How much does a 1 pound stick of dynamite weigh? And the first sergeant wasn't thinking, said it weighed 2 pounds. Well, what this guy was trying to figure out, there was a huge rock up in the rock quarry, and they wanted to know how much dynamite to put in it, drill holes in it, and bust it apart. And then they could pick it up with a crane, put it in a hopper, and crush it up. He put 2 where he was only supposed to put about 1 or a half. And we drilled holes, and we drilled holes, and we kept putting dynamite in. And the boy that I was helping said, this is going to be something. Because we weren't using construction-grade dynamite, we used military grade. And it's about 65-70% TNT, and it is powerful. I mean, it's not the demolition grade. It's the kind that really does some bad damage. And we were putting that stuff in. And this lieutenant didn't know the difference between what the construction company used and what the military used. Thought it was all the same stuff. Well, he went to school to learn this stuff, and he must have not learned too well. So anyway, we drilled them holes. We filled that rock up. It was a big rock. And I told that boy I was with, I said that we better get under a truck. And we got under a truck, and that thing went off. It blowed the maintenance shed down. It turned over a 10-ton Army crane. It blowed all the windows out of all the trucks. It put a hole in the ground that you could have buried a dump truck in, and a 5-ton dump truck's a big vehicle. There's a village, quite a ways from there, at least a quarter of a mile. It throwed rocks through houses. It hit people. It killed pigs. It killed chickens. It turned car. Any glass in the area was busted. It was gone. It's such a blast. We cleaned each other off. We looked, and I said, well, that idiot killed himself this time. And it went, that explosion, I watched it. It was little at first. I guess that was the initial blast, and it just kept getting bigger. It was like a mushroom. It growed and growed. And stuff like that happened. This caused breakdown, because you had, like I said a long time ago, we had people that didn't care. They were just there marking time, and you had some people that were not, shouldn't have been there.
What happened to this lieutenant after that?
He was reprimanded. I know that he got a reprimand because it cost the Army a bunch of money to repair that village that got tore all up. The equipment didn't matter. We were getting new equipment all the time. But it damaged. I know he got a severe reprimand. And rank come pretty quick to officers over there. And when I left, he was still second lieutenant, so I guess it finished his career as being an officer.
How do you think your wartime experience changed your life? In what ways?
I probably got a sour outlook on a lot of people. Don't make friends very well. Don't have problems on the job, not doing the job, but dealing with people that are stupid. Having a problem with that. People that are in charge that shouldn't be. I guess it all goes back to seeing so many people hurt. Bad decisions can really hurt somebody. I didn't have no religious experiences over there. I wasn't a Christian when I went over. I become one when I come back. I'm not a Bible thumper or Holy Joe. I do believe in God. I believe there is a heaven. I believe there is a heaven. I don't do well around, I guess, social things to do with the church. I don't go to church, but I do believe. I know one minister was in the 101st Airborne. He won't talk about Vietnam. He found out I was a Vietnam veteran. He run the other way.
Really, quite literally.
Run the other way. I know one guy that was in the infantry, and he won't talk about anything. And I don't start telling war stories. I just ask people where they served. Maybe I was close to them, maybe it was the same place, maybe a conversation, but no, he run the other way. Want nothing to do with me.
Do people you think, like for example, the people you work with, do they know you're a Vietnam veteran?
Some do.
Some do, but not. If I walked into your workplace and said, "Could you name to people around you, say, could you name me all the Vietnam veterans that work here?" Not everyone would pick you.
No.
No.
I know, but now there's some of us. I had one live up from me. He had a horrible problem. He was paranoid. He was the type guy that still slept with his weapon. He had problems. He was in the U.S. Marine Corps. He was in the Marine Corps Recon, and he had bad problems.
How do you feel about the way veterans were treated by American society when they came back?
The ones that were despised, I can't forgive them. I won't never forgive them. I won't. There's no way. I don't care if every person that protested the war would write me a letter of apology. I wouldn't forgive them. I just don't. Too many people died to say, I'm sorry. The average, at that time, you see, it wasn't that far after World War II, and those guys come home, the war was over, they got married, had babies, got a job. That's it. We didn't have nothing to come home to. We had a country to come home to, but there wasn't no cheering bands or nothing. And we were much younger. The average age of 19, come back 20, 21. I think average age of Korean and World War II veterans 25, 26, something like that. Big difference. Between 19 and 25 years old, that's a big difference. You're trying to be lovey-dovey with a cheerleader one week and you're in basic training the next. It's a big shock, big culture shock. It didn't happen that way in World War II. Now, later on in the war it did. And they had some problems. They sure did. Remember the movie about Private Slovak?
Mhm.
You know, he was one that should have never been drafted. But they were scraping the bottom of the barrel at that time because they had run out of fresh people. And that's what happened here. They run people. And they didn't go into universities and get them out. Well, they did after the lottery started, but then the war was nearly over with.
Did you ever have you ever used the VA for anything?
Yes, got a home loan with it. I went to school on the VA. Good thing.
Where did
Yeah.
you go to school? Did you?
I went to Knoxville Business College here and got a course in business management. It kind of helped. It wasn't no great money-making deal, but it helped. I used it, yes.
You've never used the medical.
I was around areas where Agent Orange was sprayed, but I never come I never had it sprayed on me or never come in direct contact with it.
And your hearing, any problems with your hearing?
Yes, I've had problems with hearing.
Have you ever thought of having it checked out as service-related?
I don't think it has been. I think it was more of the job line I've had. I've worked in some noisy situations. So I've got a little bit of hearing loss, but nothing terribly bad. Nothing bad. I've been around a lot of race engines, and that'll eat your hearing up. And back then, you never thought it'd cover up your ears.
What jobs have you had since you came back?
I went to work back at the old knitting mill when I come back, and I seen there was no future there. And I worked for Chevron Oil Company as a station attendant. It paid real well, paid better than. But then they cut all that out. I worked at some manufacturing plants here when they started that up in the late 60s here in Knoxville, different places. Didn't like working inside. Knew how to drive a truck, got to driving a truck, drove the truck over the road some, but I didn't stay gone weeks at a time. I didn't like that. I was out 2 or 3 days back in and did jobs like that. And finally got a real good job here 11, 12 years ago. Paid real well. Finally did better. But I didn't bounce from job to job. I stayed at some jobs I shouldn't have stayed at as long as I did. I just wanted to raise my family and have a house. American dream type thing. Not. I guess I'm boring as I can be. I've not been a woman chaser. I've got a good woman and raised 2 wonderful children. One's graduating in May. The other one graduates in the fall.
How much do your daughters know about your experiences in Vietnam? If they were to read
I've not tried to hide it from them. I've talked to them about it.
So when they read this transcript, how much of this will be new to them, and how much will they have heard?
Some of it will be new about some of the battle experiences. Some of it they know about. I would say they'd rather enjoy it.
What about your wife?
I've talked to her about everything.
So you weren't.
I've opened up to her. I've told her everything. I don't hold nothing back.
Because I've interviewed a lot of veterans, particularly, mainly at this point interviewing World War II veterans, and there are veterans who've told me, in some cases the ones who really don't talk about, they hadn't even told their wives what had happened.
I know they've done that, but I've talked to her. She's the best. Really is. She's really the best. She stuck with me through thick and thin. We've had financial problems, couldn't have good jobs, and medical problems, and we've not ever really had no marital problems. No, we haven't. We've done well on that. Got along. We've always talked.
It sounds like getting her letters also when you were in Vietnam meant a lot.
Yes, I tried to write her every day if I could. She said sometimes she get 14 letters in one day where they'd backed up, you know. I tried to write her every day. She wrote me enough. It was great to get them letters from home.
What about a USO show? Did you ever see a USO show when you were in Vietnam?
Bob Hope.
You did see Bob Hope?
Got to see Bob Hope. He's good. Great American patriot. What a man. Give up every holiday there ever was to go out and entertain the troops. Got to see Martha Ray. What a woman. What a woman. Lost her career over Vietnam. They couldn't do Bob Hope in because he was too big of a star, but they did Martha Ray. She was good, though. She was the Dolly of the Green Berets. God bless her. Connie Francis, I think. Did I get to see her? I got to hear her. I couldn't see her because there was so many people there, but I got to hear her. She was good. She was good. Got to see John Denver. Not John Denver. I'm sorry. I got to see Denver Powell. He was Gilligan Powell. He was a supporter of the Vietnam War. He was a good man.
Did you? You mentioned reading the Life magazine once. With you, what else did you read in Vietnam? What else were you able to ever get to read?
Oh, Playboy come in all the time.
So that was a pretty regular.
Pretty regular. Well, we're hot-blooded young men, you know. We want to look at women. I mean, there's no, 18, 19-year-old boys. They're high to their masculinity, I guess, what you want to call it. But Life, there was one, what was it called, Look magazine come in, those type magazines. And Hot Rod, oh God, we had Hot Rod magazines. Cause people got, our guys, we were into cars.
What about Stars and Stripes? Was that
we read it, made fun of it because it's fun of the military, but it was something to read. It was better than nothing at all. I mean, it was all pro-military. Of course, it would be.
A mundane question I always ask the World War II people in Korea: how often would you get a hot shower?
Gee, I'm thinking. Oh, maybe once a week. It depends where you was at and if you could use the other camps that you went to showers, if they had showers.
Yeah.
But it rained so much, a lot of times I just took all my clothes off and stood out in the rain and take a bath that way.
What about clean uniforms?
Not very often. I wore mine till they fell apart, and then I'd go and get retreads.
Was that a difficult thing to get?
No.
So
not for real. We had plenty of uniforms. It was just